Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. I'm working on an art journal page, so get comfy and let's get crafty. So I'm starting on a piece of watercolor paper because I wasn't sure how this was going to go, and it is about 5.5 by 8 inches. And all the things I'm using today are, well, there's a bunch. I have this Hero Art stamp set. I think it's called Timeless Textures. I'll be using a few of the stamps on that. I have Finnabar stencil. It's called Documented. I will be using parts of this stencil. I also got this 12 by 12 inch piece of their rub-on. These are from 49 and Market, and it's artistry, watercolor, wash, rub-on. I don't know. It's linked. It's linked. I'm also using some chipboard die cuts from Stamperia. I think these were part of a Vicky Papanayu release. And I have a bunch of other things I will be using on my desk. I have some acrylic paint, this burnt umber and acrylic paint, a set I got for my birthday last month. I have some white gesso. I have some washi tape shop stickers. I'm going to be using this cute little fairy to go with my other images. I also have some Liquitex fluid matte medium. So I'm starting by adding some gesso to the top of our watercolor paper because, like I said, I wasn't exactly sure where I was. Like, I kind of had an image in my brain, right? Because I have the rub-ons and stuff, but I didn't know what I was going to do to the background before I put all of the other things down. So I went ahead and added a layer of white gesso. It is a thinner layer than maybe others, and my brush was dry when I started, so it didn't wash back too much, but that's okay because there's nothing I'm trying to cover up. I'm just preparing my page. So once I have the gesso all brushed on there and spread out, I'm going to go ahead and clean up my work surface because I don't want that gesso to get anywhere else. And then I'm going to pull out my heat tool and give this a good dry before we move on to the next step. And I want to make sure this is nice and dry. It's super sped up, but I do want to make sure this is nice and dry because I'm going to be stamping. So I decided to use this texture background and potting soil archival ink to break the background. There's absolutely nothing about this that is going to be relevant in any way, shape, or form. It is just breaking the background, getting rid of all of that white. I am doing kind of sort of a diagonal pattern. There we go. Words are hard. And with the text block. And then I'm bringing in this piece that looks like a piece of a brick wall. And I'm adding it on the left, and then I'm going to go on the top corner and turn it a little bit just because I can. And there's still just a little bit too much white space in the background there. So I'm adding this alphabet stamp. It did not stamp perfect. I was not going for perfect. I was going for getting rid of all that open space in the background. And then I decided I needed to give it an edge. So I pulled out the sepia ink pad and a foam blending brush, and I'm just going in off the edge toward the middle of the page, going around the edges a little bit. And then there's all this ink on my work surface, so I added some alcohol. I have some isopropyl alcohol in a spray bottle, and I sprayed that down onto the front of my desk, and we're going to do a little bit of ink smooshing. I had to find it on my desk. That's what that whole pause was. Now, the alcohol dries really fast, a lot faster than water in water-based ink. Sorry. So I did have to spray it and dab it and spray it and dab it. And once I felt like I had gotten as much ink off the background as I was going to get, I went ahead and grabbed that stencil. So I have a piece of a art sponge here, and I'm putting a little dab of that burnt umber acrylic paint on my desk in the wrong part of my desk. I usually put it in the top right, and for whatever reason I went top left, and it's like discombobulating my brain. Discombobulating my brain to the extent that I put the stencil, like I couldn't figure out why nothing was going through the stencil. It's upside down. And I guess the way that this particular stencil is cut, that's going to matter, because even like not being super gentle, I didn't get a lot of detail down. So I realized, oh, duh, cleaned off the stencil and put a little more paint on my work surface, flipped it over so the front side was up. And let me tell you, it worked just a little bit better this time. So sometimes stencils don't matter because of the detail on this one, I think. it totally mattered. So, we're going to add a couple of these little circle images. I think they're kind of like a watermark or a seal, like like a seal, like a notary or on a birth certificate or something. So I'm going to add a couple of those, and then I'm going to add some. I've got this 3D matte gel. It's kind of like a texture paste, but it's not. It's not as stiff as a texture paste. It would be clear if it dried, but I'm adding a little bit of that paint to it, and I'm going to use this to go through the stencil in some other places. And it kind of dried, has the rays of like a heat embossed image. So it's not as thick as like a texture paste or a, I can't think of the other word that we use for texture paste. I can't think of what it is. Stencil paste, maybe? My brain is not firing on all cylinders right now, I guess. But it's kind of like the height of an heat embossed image. So I don't hate it. It did make the paint a little bit darker, and it made it shiny. So there's that. So of the images on this 12 by 12 sheet, I wanted to use this green one because green's my favorite, but also because it is not the same color as that little teacup fairy house. So I'm kind of laying out my die cuts here, figuring out, okay, which side is up on this butterfly, figuring out how I'm going to add them all in. And this is, I kind of have them how I want them. So I've peeled the backing off of this die cut. I'm hoping that this is dry enough, like it doesn't come off on my fingers, but it's still a little bit of a squish. So we'll see. I'm going to put this down, not quite in the center, but kind of in the center. And I'm using the little tool that came with it. And it is like the best thing I've used for transferring rub-ons, like ever, I think. It's like the perfect thickness. It's like staying in my stash forever. So once I had that hopefully down, I used my little pokey tool to pick up the edge. And there were some places that did not adhere down. So once I pulled that paper, the transfer sheet, all the way up, I did go ahead and take the pieces that were left and just added them wherever I wanted. The ones that went over the top of that texture paste didn't come off the backing sheet. They were just not going to be usable. So now I'm checking to make sure I'm still in love with this fairy, because I wasn't sure. Clearly, if this is a fairy house, the fairy has to be smaller than the teapot house, right? Or the teacup house, right? So I was still a little bit iffy on the dimensions, and true story, they're not exactly right. It kind of looks like the fairy is a little more to the front, like toward you, the viewer, than the house is, because she's just a little bit bigger than the house. But we're going to go ahead and adhere these chipboard die cuts with some Tombow mono glue. I like this glue. It's been in my craft stash forever, like since the beginning of time. I bought a 12-pack box from Amazon, maybe before COVID. I'm not kidding. They have been in my stash that long. And I think I'm down to like the last 4 or 5 bottles. I did add a stamp block on top of those just to help them stick down, adhere while the glue was kind of temporarily curing. So these washi tape stickers, I got them from the washi tape shop, and this specific roll I couldn't find on their shop, but I'm going to go ahead and link them on my blog, and the link to the blog will be down below in the box, because they have a lot of really cool, and they have them both on this, I think this is called TVP tape, I think, and then they have it on like clear shiny tape too. They have stickers, they have washi tape on both kinds of tape. So I'm adding a few of the butterflies from this washi roll as well, just because I can. They're the same color palette, the greens and the blues and the purples, and it just kind of adds a little bit more to the page. So why not? I do like that on this particular tape, once it's down, you don't see the edge. So I'm good with that. I'm adding a little bit of that Liquitex fluid matte medium to keep the washi tape stickers down and to take the shine off of those chipboard die cuts. I don't like the shine, but also sometimes in the humidity they can stick together. The pages can stick together when they're shiny like that. So we're going to go ahead and add some fluid medium, matte medium, and heat set that with my heat tool. I am spending a little time doing that. And then because the back's a little bit messy and because I have paper coming out my nose, you guys, like my channel is Designs with Paper because I have a thing for patterned paper. That's just the reality of it. But I am going to use a piece that is in my stash that I've had forever. Like I think I got this when my 12-year-old was a baby. My almost 13-year-old was a baby. It is that old. I put some double-sided adhesive on the back all over my art journal page, and then I'm going to kind of eyeball center this onto that darker side. That's not the side that will be showing. That's just the side I'm sticking down. The back side of this paper is like a book log or a ledger, which kind of plays on the front a little bit, the textured stamps I used. So, and the stencil itself. So I'm just go ahead and use some light pressure because still I don't want to smash the stuff on the front, and get that all stuck down. And then in the fastest you've ever seen, because editing is awesome, I'm trimming down that art journal page with my scissors. And before I add the final chipboard piece, I wanted to stamp my holes because I knew I could not stamp through this. It's thicker than my punch would allow. So I needed to have the holes in my page before I added this little tag that says home. And I'm using some 3-dimensional foam squares. I think I got these at the Dollar Tree 2 or 3 years ago when I did a couple of card classes. But yeah, so I'm adding that to the front of my page. I will add a little bit of that matte medium to the front of it as well because, again, shiny. I don't want the shiny. And once that is all done, I can go ahead and sign and date my page. So I grabbed a Zig pen from my drawer and I did just that. I signed and dated my page right there on the side. Can't really read it in the video. It just looks like more background. And here is my finished page. I love working with the things in my stash. I mean, I bought them, I like them, I should use them. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I have a couple other videos here I think you would like. I've also added a subscribe button. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and have a really great day.